Welcome. We're going to work through an example of how to place exit signs. Now here I have a fairly simple building. It's actually one floor of a building, the 26th floor of a high-rise. It's a single tenant, mostly office spaces. So let's work through an example and see how we place exit signs. Step 1, marking the primary exits. Now the first thing we do is start at the exits. In this building there are two, and only two, interior exit stairs. Those are the two exits. So first we mark the exits. Let's place an exit sign. Then let's consider the direction of approach. There's a corridor coming from the east and a corridor coming from the west. So occupants will be looking at the sign from the side at a 90-degree angle. So we place an exit sign. Now occupants are coming down this corridor. They'll see the exit sign and that it's pointing left towards the door to the stair. Or if occupants were coming out of the toilet, they turn, they look left, they're going to see that exit sign. It's going to point them to the stair. So that covers occupants coming from this corridor, coming from the toilets, coming from further down the corridor in this east to west direction of approach. Now, what about occupants coming down this side of the corridor? Right now, as shown, they're looking at the back of the sign. So we need the exit sign on both sides. So instead, it would look something like this. We also want an arrow to point in the direction of the stair. So it would look something like this. Now, this covers occupants approaching from this corridor. If they're coming from this direction, west to east, they'll see the exit sign pointing at the stair. If they're coming east to west, they'll see the exit sign pointing at the stair. We've got the exit covered, and we've got both directions of approach, so we're good. Placing signage at the second stair. Now let's slide over and look at the other stair. Similarly, if an occupant was coming west to east, they'd need to know the exit's there, or coming east to west. They need to know where the exit is, so we'll do the same thing. It's a similar corridor configuration, and we'll place an exit sign near that stair in the corridor with the words exit on both sides and arrows from each direction pointing towards the stair. An occupant coming out of the toilet room can look left or right, and they're going to see the sign. Occupants coming down the corridor from between the stairs will see either exit sign. Occupants coming east to west outside the stair will see this exit sign, and similarly from the other side. Strategy: walking backwards from an exit. So from here, what I like to do is sort of walk backwards, if that makes sense. Imagine I walked to the exit, and I'm going to walk in reverse backwards to the place where I came from. So let's say I walk backwards from the stair. I can still see the exit sign, so I'm good. Now I'm going to turn in reverse and go back up through this informal collaboration area. So I'm standing in this position here. I'm looking down at this corridor, but I can't see any exit signs. Should I continue in this direction to reach an exit? And if I do I turn left or right when I get here? Well, you could turn either way, actually. If you walk down this corridor and you turn right, you'd go to an exit. If you turn left, you'd go to an exit too. So let's place an exit sign here, and that's going to have arrows in both directions pointing to either exit. So that symbol will look like this. The words exit are facing the occupant, the viewer, and we want to point the viewer in either direction. So now an occupant standing here looking south is going to see the exit sign in the corridor, which is going to point them to either stair. Now what about these offices near the informal collaboration area? To exit, I make a turn here. As I'm approaching in this direction, do I know which way to go? Do I keep going all the way down the corridor? Do I turn left? Well, yes, we turn left because that's the direction we went walking backwards from the exit. So that decision point is where we're telling occupants to turn. So we'll place an exit sign here. We'll tell the occupant to turn and go down that way. So that covers occupants from the east to west approach. But what if I came out of the other office and looked for my exit sign? Right now I'd be looking at the back of the sign. So we want the words exit on both sides and point in the direction of the corridor where we lead to an exit. So the sign will actually look like this, the same one that we had directly above the stair, actually. Rules for signage: individual offices and maximum viewing distance. So do I need an exit sign in this office? Short answer, no. In most cases, when a room has a single door, an exit sign is not required. So if I continue walking backwards, I can still see this exit sign. But at some point, the exit sign will be too far away. What is that distance? Well, the rule is 100 feet. That's the maximum viewing distance from an exit sign. So at a minimum, from this point 100 feet away, I would need another exit sign. Well, that's off the page in this instance. So I wouldn't need another exit sign because of maximum viewing distance. Meaning if an occupant came out of this office and looked left, they would still be able to see the sign. Now, as we said, the office itself does not require an exit sign, so we don't need one above the office door. It would not be practical to put an exit sign directly above the corridor for when the occupant exited the office. We just said that the office door does not need an exit sign. So we'll make the basic assumption that when the occupant gets into the corridor, they will turn and look left or right. If they look left, they'll see a sign. It is less than 100 feet away, so we're good. Now what if they turn and look right? Is there a path to an exit this way? There is actually. The occupant could go east, south, west, and get to the other stair. So how'd they know how to do that? With exit signs, of course. So let's place an exit sign at that decision point. Now when we come out of my office, I look left, I see an exit sign. I look right, I see an exit sign. I know which way to go. Good. As I continue this way, I turn and go right. Now I'm going south, but without an exit sign, I might blow right past this corridor. So we need another exit sign there too. Now in this case, there would also be occupants approaching from the south going north. So we would want this exit sign to serve both occupants from either direction. So we'll make sure that it has the word exit and an arrow pointing to the respective exit on both sides. Signage in open office areas. Now before we move further, let's look at this open office area. From this open office area, can an occupant reasonably see an exit sign? Let's say they're standing right in the middle. They'll look, they'll see this exit sign clearly. Of course, if they were standing in the corridor itself or the partial corridor, since it stops here, they could see either exit. So as we move further back, they'll get further and further away, and at some point, maybe they can't see the exit sign. But from this position, this exit sign here is less than 100 feet away. Some of this is prescriptive. There are maximum viewing distances for exit signs, and exits must be marked. But in some cases, there's some judgment call. What's a reasonable number of exit signs, and what is excessive? Could you add another one to the open office? Yes, you can always add more. If you did, where would you put it? Maybe you'd put one here? In my opinion, that isn't necessary. What we have is already a good design. We have an exit sign at both ends of the corridors. From most directions, an occupant can see an exit sign. It isn't a hard rule that from all spaces an exit sign must always be visible. Let's say an occupant shouldn't have to walk too far to see an exit sign, but each case is going to be different. In this case, I think that from this open office, an occupant can see this exit sign from most directions. Symmetrical signage placement. Now let's move back down the corridor. Similarly, from the other side, if someone's in this open office, we want to point them to this stair. So we'll put our exit signs in with the arrow pointing in the direction of the stair. Because this is fairly symmetrical, we also know that we need an exit sign here for the occupants coming out of these offices or in the open office to know that they can turn in this direction, continue down the corridor, and get to that stair. Special case, the project room. Now, let's keep moving down this corridor. Let's get to this project room. Now, this project room has 2 doors. If 2 exit access doors are required for a means of egress, then an exit sign is required. The simple answer is if there's 1 door, no exit sign is required. If there are multiple doors, exit signs are required. There's a bit more nuance to that. There are cases where more than 1 door is added, but they're not required for egress. The telltale giveaway is if the doors are swinging in the direction of egress. When a room has more than 50 occupants, it's required to have 2 exit access doors swinging in the direction of egress. When you see these conditions, exit signs are required. This project room, however, has both doors swinging in, meaning that it does not require 2 exit access doors. So an exit sign would not be required in this case. So let's say we walked out of the project room and now we're in the corridor. We look left, what do we see? We look right, what do we see? Well, we know that the way to an exit is to go left and then turn. Now we have an exit sign here. So from this position, we need to direct occupants to go north. So we'll put an exit sign in. Now remember, exit signs have the word exit printed on one or both sides. We want it on both sides when there's an occupant approaching in both directions. Now in this case, it's unlikely an occupant would be standing behind where the exit sign is. So we would only provide the word exit on this side to notify occupants approaching from the east to the west that the exit is in the direction with the arrow pointing north. So now from our project room, we turn, we look left, we see an exit sign. Now when we turn right, can we see an exit sign? Well, no. How do we get to the nearest exit sign going east? That would be this stair here. So we'd want to notify occupants to turn left in this direction to go to the exit. Now if we take a quick measurement here, we'll note that between these 2 exit signs, there's 103 feet. We said 100 feet is the maximum viewing distance from an exit sign. So in cases where there's more than 200 feet between exit signs, we would need another. But in this case, an occupant is never more than 52 feet away from an exit sign, which does not exceed 100. So we don't need another. So we know we need an exit sign here pointing occupants to go north. Let's place that. A good spot might be here. Now in this case, I don't want to provide any directional arrows. I want an occupant who sees the sign to continue in the direction they're going. So if an occupant came out of the huddle room and they go east, I want them to continue to go east until they reach the exit sign to turn and go north. If they were coming from the cafe, I'd want them to continue down this corridor till they see the exit sign, then turn north and go around to get to that stair. Signage for large assembly spaces, the main cafe. Now this elevator lobby is likely not an exit due to the way the doors swing. So we're not going to be pointing to the elevator lobby to tell people that's the direction to get out. Here from the main cafe, how do we get out? I can't see an exit sign here. So likely we'll want an exit sign from the main cafe. Typically, cafes and other large assembly spaces do require 2 exit access doors. So we'll likely want 2 exit signs from the main cafe. We probably want one here and one here. On the west side, we want a directional arrow to tell occupants to exit in this direction. From this area, we want occupants to continue to go this way, so we won't have a directional arrow. Now that we've told occupants to turn, they're actually going to be heading in the wrong direction. They'll head straight toward the elevator lobby, which is not the way out, as we said. So we want an additional exit sign to tell occupants to go left or right. So we'll place one here. And from here, which way should the occupants go? Well, they can really go either way. So we'll place an exit sign with an arrow in both directions. Now this exit sign is 2-sided. If an occupant was in this area, they'd be looking at this exit sign. It'd also be useful for them to know which way the exit is. So there'll be double arrows on the other side as well. Placing signage in intermediate corridors. If I'm in this corridor, can I see any exit signs? No, I can't. Which way do I go? Which way do I turn? Well, if I'm going north, I'm really close to a stair. I turn left. So I'll place an exit sign here, telling occupants to go to the left. Now this is a good example of where we don't want a double-sided exit sign. Let's say, for example, I'm in this corridor, I'm turning, I'm looking, and for some reason I decide to look down this corridor here. Should I travel down that corridor? Does it lead to an exit? Yes, it eventually does. But it would take you a pretty long time. Most practically, where should they go? To the stair right here. So we don't want to distract them. If an occupant is walking in this direction, hopefully they see this exit sign and go to the stair. But if they're walking and they turn and look left down the corridor and they see the exit sign, they may make the decision to turn and go south, which they really shouldn't. So we'll keep the back of this exit sign blank. Now if I turned and looked down the corridor to go south, which way do I go? Well, again, they can go either direction. Addressing complex paths, wellness room and work lounge. When we come out of this wellness room, we turn, we look north, and we see an exit sign that points us right to the stair. We turn and go south, but we can't actually see an exit sign from here. So what should we do? What's the most natural path of travel to get to an exit? Well, we could turn and go this way, but this work lounge here has a sliding door, and those aren't really a means of egress for more than 10 people. The code doesn't permit it. So I would say that this is not the best way to direct our occupants. Instead, we should direct them to the west. When we come out of this wellness room, we turn and go south. What's the best path to an exit? If occupants went through this work lounge, they're going to go through a sliding door, which technically can only serve as a means of egress for 10 or fewer occupants. So we probably shouldn't be sending occupants this way. Let's send them west. So if we place an exit sign near the end of this corridor with an arrow pointing to the west, then when the occupant reaches this area, they'll turn and look. And they should be able to see an exit sign because it's less than 56 feet away. And the maximum viewing distance is 100 to an exit. Now from the other direction of approach, does this lead to an exit? Yes, it does. Do we need a directional arrow? No, occupants can continue to go north. So we can use the back side to provide an additional exit sign. Now from this work lounge, how do occupants know how to get out? Well, from any position, they could probably see the beginning of the corridor here. The path to the exit would be to continue down the corridor west, turn and go north, and go to the stair. So one exit sign from here should suffice. And this one would not need any directional arrows since we're not telling any occupants to turn, simply to continue on the path they're going. Final assessment of open office areas. Now, from this open office, we said that individual offices do not require exit signs. So I leave this office, I turn and look, and oh, I can see this exit sign. That's pretty nice. From this office, I turn and look, I can see an exit sign from here as well. So I think this area is pretty good. So we've made it all the way around the floor plan. Do we have enough exit signs? Could we add more? Well, you could always add more exit signs, but at some point, you could be creating a situation where occupants are running around in loops. We want to point occupants to the nearest exit sign in most cases. Yes, we require 2 exits that are accessible from all portions of a building, but generally, we provide exit signage to the nearest exit. To double check and review, we'll place an occupant in each room. We'll have them walk out of the room. If they've entered a corridor, we have them look left and look right. Can they see an exit sign? If the answer is yes, then we have enough. Do we have our exits marked? Yes. Do we have any turn or changes of direction marked in the paths of egress from the origination point all the way to the exit? If so, then we have enough exit signs. Thanks for reviewing this with me. I'm Stephen Barrett. This is MeyerFire University.
This has been a preview of MeyerFire University. Join the next generation of fire protection experts at www.meyerfireuniversity.com.